questions and answers. This has been quite popular with people. Now guys, if you've got a question, please just do the one and it gives other people a chance. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Questions. Number one by Ian Robson. When I'm looking at villas for sale online, I notice that quite a few of them don't have kickboards under the kitchen units, even the very stylish ones. Why is that? Could it be something to do with the cockroaches? Good question, Ian. I can safely say no. All I can say, it's to do with the style. Now, when we moved into our villa, we had kickboards all around our kitchen, and then my wife decided to paint the units white. She removed the kickboards, okay, so she could get the brush underneath it. Cockroaches. No. I mean, we do get cockroaches, like anywhere else would, I suppose, really. What I've noticed is when I go up onto the sun terrace, if we got flower pots up there, when I water the pots, sometimes the odd cockroach will come out. Now, I've seen, what, 2 or 3, what tends to happen here in Spain, especially where we live, because I live quite near the shops. I think about twice a year, the guys come around, they lift up the drain covers out in the road, they then spray to kill off the cockroaches and whatever else is down in these sewers and that. And this, what tends to happen then, this obviously brings up the cockroaches. But don't worry, as far as I know, I've never heard of an invasion of cockroaches. And I'm right in thinking if you do get cockroaches in your villa or whatever else, you can contact the council and they're supposed to sort it out. But I've never come across it. But good question, Ian. Question 2 by Mandy Plummer. How have you and your wife managed Spanish communication? Are you taking lessons, and how would you recommend a newcomer to start to learn? Good question. Now, there are a few apps. I'm going to put up a name now because I can't remember it off my head, but my wife uses it and it's a very good app for learning, and it's free, obviously. I think it's called Duolingo, but I will put a thing there just to give you an idea what it's called. And it gives you a good idea how to pronounce words and put phrases together. Now, when we first arrived in Spain, we went to a Spanish lesson. My wife went to quite a few. I went to one. Now, I have a problem speaking normal English words. Something I've had a problem with all my life, unfortunately. But the guy that was doing it, which was a Spanish guy, he said, to learn to understand Spanish, you have to understand the grammar, which was over my head. I just I just don't understand it. So, I'll be honest, I haven't been back since. But what I do tend to do, I do go out a lot, I do meet a lot of Spanish people, and they do help me with words. And I am picking it up gradually, whereas my wife, she's gone to quite a few lessons. We have dropped off recently, but what we have found, Google Translate is an amazing bit of kit, which is obviously an app. This app is out so many times. We've been to the hospital. Now, when you go to a Spanish hospital, you're supposed to have a translator with you. Now, sometimes that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you might have to go to hospital in a rush. And what my wife does, she will write it all out in English and then Google Translate it and put it into Spanish. The Spanish love that because you're trying. Because you will find, especially where we are in Spain, you will, even the youngsters don't speak a lot of English. So you are communicating in Spanish. And what I found in the shops, especially the electrical shops, what I tend to do now is take a photograph of something I want. I'll go up to one of the assistants, and they're still very helpful. But yeah, like the question has said, really, you've got to learn Spanish. Don't think coming to Spain you don't need to speak Spanish. Now, there are some people I know that seem to think that, but to be quite honest, if you want to get out there and communicate with people, you do need to learn the language. So for me, I'm struggling. My wife is coming along fine, but you will find, depending on where you're going to go, especially on Camposol, we've got like a community room, and there are quite a few people doing Spanish lessons, especially during the summer months. There's a few private tuition ones as well, because you do need to have somebody to, I think, speak mouth to mouth really, because another thing, especially where we are in this part of Spain, they tend to cut the words short. I mean, another thing I didn't realise, obviously Spain's got different languages. You've got Catalonian, which is Spanish, but in a different way of doing it. So, yeah, it's not just watching kiddies' telly programmes and thinking you can learn Spanish that way, because that won't work. Because if you go into our local supermarket, they won't know what you're on about. So, yeah, good question, Maddie. Number 3, Lee Gilmore. Is there regular buses that go back and forth into Mazarron? Yes, there is. I've never done it myself, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little timetable here at the side. If you go onto one of the Facebook groups on Camposol, which is the Beguntis site, there's a file that you can go into that's got loads of information, and there is a bus that goes daily. It mainly goes from just past the pharmacy. There's a little bus stop there. It's not marked as a bus stop, but that's where you see some seating, and I believe it goes over to B. I think it goes to the car park, but I'll put the timetable here to give you an idea. But a good question, that, Lee. Number 4, Mark Mackey. I got that right. Now, Mark's saying, thinking of moving to Camposol in the future. I know, reading forums, there's a lot of dog lovers. Are the dogs left outside barking all day like they are in the UK? Question. The last thing I would want while relaxing on the roof terrace would be dogs barking in all directions. I want to move to, well, thinking of sector C and D. Anyway, he wants to move to either C or D in the distant future, which is gracious. Okay, good question, Mark. Yeah. Now, like most places around the world, there is a lot of people, even on Camposol and out in the country, that we all, especially the Spanish farmers and whatever, there are plots of land, they will have dogs roaming about day and night, barking their heads off at the slightest noise. Now, on Camposol, there are dogs left out. I've seen it, so I'm not going to say that there aren't. What I will say, now I'm up near the shops. Now, what's good about Spain, there's a curfew hour. That means after midnight, everything has to be quiet. So any of the bars would shut down. Now, officially, if there is a dog barking all night, you've got the right. You could go around there and complain about it, and if he still doesn't do it, you can take a denounce out on him. But that will cost you money, and that's the last thing you want to do, start spending that money. So what I did when I first came out to Spain, because I know what it's like, because my folks used to live down in Malaga, and my parents had the same problem. They were in a mid-terrace. The next door neighbour's dog, God, it used to bark in the night, and it would echo through the wall. So what I did when I was looking for property, go up on the sun terrace, Mark, go on the sun terrace, look down into your neighbour's garden. If you see dog poo in their neighbour's garden, you know they got dogs 24/7. Obviously, if they've got dogs, and while you're there they're not barking their heads off, that's fine. But if you see dog poo in next door's garden, or you see a big dog and he's barking, then to be quite honest, I wouldn't buy that property. It just saves the hassle. As far as I'm concerned, my dog comes to our bedroom at night and sleeps in there. He doesn't stay outside, but I know some people let their dogs sleep outside 24/7, which I think is totally wrong, but it does happen, and you've got a good point, and I wouldn't put up with that if I was sleeping and I was being annoyed in the middle of the night. So remember that, Mark. Look out, go on that sun terrace, look down next door, see if they got a dog. Or use that as a bargaining point. Anyway, question 5 by Tim Rice. My wife and I are thinking of retiring to Camposol this autumn or early next year. We saw your video on cost of living and it was very helpful. In your opinion, is €1,500 a month, budget enough to live on if you own your own property? Good question, and it is a hard one, because in my video that I'd done, it all depends on your lifestyle. Now, we got a pool, and that pool will take part of your money, especially in the summer months, topping it up with water. The pump has to be on a lot longer, so that burns up power. But I think 1,500 a month's enough. Now, I'm going to bring out a new video on the monthly costs, which will be next month or so. I've been hanging out for the BritX, but now they've extended the BritX. I thought, I want to get on with it. So we'll be bringing out a new video on the cost, on the monthly cost, because I have extended it. We used to put 1,000 in a month. Now we're putting in 1,200 a month. But yeah, I would say 1,500 is plenty enough to live off. But like I said before, that's dependent on your lifestyle, the size of your villa, if you've got a swimming pool, a car. You know, you might need a little bit more. It depends. That's what is a hard question to ask. But if you're living in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom property with no pool, yeah, you quite easily live off 1,500. With a swimming pool, maybe a 3-bedroom, a big car, maybe you might need a little bit more. I mean, but then I think what's hard to explain is sometimes each month you don't spend all that money, you put it by for the next one, because there's a few bills that you have to think about. Once you become a resident, you've got resident tax, you've got your IBI tax, and if you've got property back in the UK, you might have to pay extra tax on that. So it's a bit of a minefield, but I would say you'll probably be all right. Tim. Question 6 by Chris Anderson. We've sold our house, hopefully coming over with a view to purchase. What procedures do I need, i.e. documents, etc., have you for your furniture brought over by a removal company? To be quite honest, Chris, there's not a lot you need to know really. Obviously, hire a proper removal company. Now, I know there are removal companies here. I used a removal company in the UK because we had a problem, and this is probably a reason why maybe it's a good idea to use a UK company to the extent of using a Spanish, maybe an English company from coming over. What happened to us was we sold our property, but you know what it's like when you're in a link, it goes on and on. It was getting near Christmas. The company that we'd organised with said, yeah, no problem, but once we was given the date, it was a couple of weeks before Christmas itself, they couldn't do it. They were just too busy. So we were stuck, but obviously we wanted to move. We didn't want to break the link. We wanted to get going. So what we did in the end, we had to call a local small company with a couple of Luton vans. They put it into storage for us, and then they organised a proper international company to take it over to Spain. So it cost us more than we wanted. Now with the removal companies, if you use proper removal companies, I know it's hard relying on trust on these companies because they all seem to have problems in one sense, but most of them will tell you straight away what they can't take, and what they're on about is mainly liquids. Now another thing that you got to remember, now we brought over a shipping container. My wife had huge amounts of stuff, and I still think we didn't need to bring half of it, but anyway, but we did. So that was an extra expense, but we allowed that expense anyway. But just remember, guys, if you've done your research properly, if the properties that you're looking at, most of them, I mean, obviously if you're buying a new property, maybe not so much, but most of the second home properties will come furnished. So you won't need sofas, you won't need beds. But that's your pick on things. If you want to bring all your stuff because you want to have it to how you like it, that's fair enough. But just bear in mind that most of these properties here in Spain, especially if they're second homes, when I say second homes, you know, they're older homes, they're not brand new homes, they usually come furnished because they don't want to get rid of the furniture, so it comes part of the package. Because another thing here also to remember is, this is what I say about research, guys, is furniture here is expensive. It's not cheap. You can go somewhere around some of the charity shops, but to me, even the charity shops I thought were quite expensive for some furniture. But I was amazed, the place that we bought come fully furnished. Over the years we've got rid of beds, we've got rid of sofas because it was just getting too cluttered. So just bear that in mind, so you can cut down on things, but what you're obviously getting at is, what documentation do you need for coming over? Well, the removal company will tell you all that information. From what I can make out, obviously you can't bring over seeds and plants. Well, there's no point in bringing plants because they're going to die anyway, because you don't know how long it's going to be in shipping for. And obviously fluids, so don't think bringing over 10,000 tins of paint, because paint's expensive here. That won't be allowed, so just bear that in mind. Hope that's answered the question, Chris. Number 7, Angel ZXC. Right, are there any taxis on Camposol? I've always wanted to know how people who live on sector C and D get their shopping or go to the doctors or the market if they don't drive. Good question, and probably you've obviously done your research, because C and D is quite a walk to the local shops in Camposol itself. Now at the moment they are doing a trial with a minibus taxi thing where you pay monthly and you book it online. That's on trial at the moment. It's just started up, so I don't know how long that would last for, but that's one good thing for people that can't drive. The second one is there's no taxis actually come onto Camposol officially. It's all to do with licensing, but there are people on Camposol, can I say it, what I would say illegal taxi drivers. So that's the people that they probably use. I'll be honest, if you don't drive, you're going to have a major problem, because obviously if you have to go to the main hospital, which is in Cartagena, that's a good hour's drive away. Mate, you might be lucky. I mean, one good thing about the Camposol community is people will help out people, but if you've got to keep relying on people, so you really do need some sort of transport, and obviously I would suggest a car, really. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one, that, because there is a bus service, a Spanish bus service that comes in onto A and will take you down to Mazarron, Toltana, and obviously from Toltana you can catch a train to the Alicante airport, and I believe also, I'm right in thinking now, there is a bus, another Spanish bus that comes from Lorca, and it pops into Camposol and takes you to the new airport, the new Corvera airport, the Murcia International Airport. But I would advise, if you haven't got transport, have a big think, because you could be stuck. You do need, unless you're fit and healthy, you do need a car. Yeah, Spain's a vast place. You could be sent to other hospitals. This is the problem, so yeah. But there's no taxis at the moment. Now the hotel is being worked on at the moment. Now once that hotel opens up, whenever, possibly then taxis will appear actually on Camposol, but at the moment they're not allowed to be on Camposol to do with licensing. Bizarre, I know, but anyway. Hope that's answered the question. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, if you've got any more questions, please add them below and I'll mention it in the next month. As I always say, keep watching, guys, because you just don't know what I'm going to bring out next. But anyway, keep watching.